The White House just quietly bundled two separate crises into a single $87.6 billion spending request, and you're about to pay $1,040 per household without even knowing what you're paying for. Here's the breakdown of where your money actually goes. This is education, not financial advice, but the math is public record and you deserve to see it before we're done. You'll see the actual budget trade-off on screen. Iran defense dollars sitting next to your state's rural broadband funding, same $87.6 billion price tag. Suddenly it stops being abstract. Nobody in Washington frames it that way. Let's fix that. The first piece of the bundle is the Iran theater defense request, and it's the bigger slice. The administration is asking for roughly $60 billion aimed at military posture in the Persian Gulf region. Accelerated weapons production and allied deterrence commitments made before this bill existed. That number alone ranks among the 10 largest single emergency defense appropriations in post-World War II American history. Arriving as a supplement, meaning on top of the regular defense budget Congress already approved this year. The second piece is the farm aid component, roughly $27.6 billion directed at crop insurance payouts. Rural infrastructure and commodity support programs for agricultural regions hit by drought, trade disruption, and falling commodity prices. These constituencies don't align politically. Defense hawks and rural farm state senators rarely vote the same way, which is precisely why packaging them together is a legislative strategy, not an accident. Bundling forces each side to swallow what it dislikes in order to protect what it needs. And the $87.6 billion total sails through in one vote instead of two contested ones. Here's the catch: the real question isn't whether these programs are needed, it's where the money comes from and what it displaces. Every dollar allocated in a supplemental spending bill has to come from somewhere. Either Congress cuts something else of equal size, or it borrows the difference and adds it to a federal debt that already exceeds $34 trillion as of mid-2025. In the last 20 years, Congress has passed emergency supplemental requests totaling over $2 trillion, covering Iraq, Afghanistan, COVID, Ukraine, and a dozen smaller packages, and in almost every case, they borrowed the money rather than offsetting it with cuts elsewhere. Emergency spending has quietly become a second budget running parallel to the official one. Let's put the $87.6 billion in a frame you can actually feel. The entire annual budget for the Department of Education is roughly $80 billion. So this single supplemental exceeds what the federal government spends in a full year on K-12 Title I schools, Pell Grants, and special education combined. The entire federal highway and bridge program runs about $60 billion per year. The farm aid component alone, at $27.6 billion, exceeds the combined annual budgets of the Small Business Administration, the EPA, and NASA. When a politician says this is emergency spending, it's separate. They mean it's off the normal ledger. It bypasses the annual appropriations debate, and it lands without the usual trade-off conversation the regular budget forces. If you're a salaried worker in your 30s or a small business owner trying to plan finances, the next part matters directly to you. Here's how deficit spending translates to your household. Every $1 billion added to the federal deficit today represents roughly $10 billion in future debt service costs over a standard 30-year Treasury financing window, using historical average interest rates around 4.5%. So the $87.6 billion request, if fully borrowed and financed the normal way, generates approximately $876 billion in total government obligations when you carry the interest forward 3 decades. A number the Congressional Budget Office's own models have consistently confirmed for supplemental packages of this size. Let's talk about the defense side of this request because there's a mechanism most people never see. When Congress approves a supplemental defense package, a significant fraction of those dollars don't stay in the United States. They flow outward as foreign military financing, direct weapons transfers, and allied burden-sharing agreements. In the Ukraine supplemental packages of 2022 and 2023, roughly 60% of the total appropriation left U.S. borders within 18 months of passage. If a similar ratio holds for this Iran theater package, then approximately $36 billion of the $60 billion defense slice ultimately represents commitments to allied nations, contractors operating overseas, and forward-deployed operations, while the remaining $24 billion or so stays in the domestic defense industrial base. Here's the part nobody talks about. The farm aid math makes this even more interesting and flips the political story completely. The farm aid component has a different fiscal character. Most of it stays domestic. Crop insurance payouts go directly to American agricultural operators. The top 10% of farm recipients historically capture about 60% of federal farm support dollars, according to the Environmental Working Group's Farm Subsidy Database. That means roughly $16.6 billion of the $27.6 billion farm slice likely flows to large-scale commercial agricultural operations, while smaller family farms capture the remaining share. Most people assume farm aid funds small family operations. The reality inverts that. Now we're deep enough into the numbers to reveal what changes how you read every future spending headline. For 20 consecutive years, from 2001 through 2025, Congress has used the emergency supplemental mechanism to appropriate money outside the official budget caps set by the Budget Control Act and its successors. Every single one was described at the time as a one-time, non-recurring emergency. The cumulative total of those one-time emergencies now exceeds $2 trillion, representing the single largest driver of federal debt growth over that period outside of the 2020 COVID response. Congress hasn't been running a budget with occasional emergency add-ons. It has effectively been running two budgets simultaneously. The official one debated every fall and the supplemental one that passes quickly under emergency framing with almost no trade-off discussion. If you treated every supplemental from 2001 to 2025 as recurring, which the pattern shows they effectively are, annual federal spending was roughly 10% higher every single year than the official budget figures suggested. That is a 10% shadow budget, invisible to most voters, compounding for 2 decades. Here's what the solution actually looks like, and it's not blocking all spending, because some of these emergencies are real. The mechanism that forces accountability is called pay-as-you-go or pay-go, a budget rule that requires any new spending to be offset by an equal cut or a new revenue source before the vote happens, not after. Congress had a pay-go statute from 1990 through 2002, and during that window, the federal deficit shrank from $290 billion to a surplus of $128 billion in 2001. The rule lapsed in 2002, and the supplemental spending era began almost immediately. Enforcement of a single procedural rule correlated with a $418 billion swing in annual fiscal position over 12 years. The current $87.6 billion request isn't subject to pay-go. Congress waived that requirement in its most recent budget framework. This entire package can be approved without a single offsetting cut being identified. The side-by-side comparison I promised at the start is coming up next, and it's the number that makes the trade-off impossible to ignore. Let's put Iran defense dollars and rural broadband funding in the same frame. The federal government's Rural Broadband Deployment Fund, the program extending high-speed internet to farms, small towns, and rural hospitals across the country, has a total authorized budget of $65 billion spread across 10 years under the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. The Iran theater defense slice of this supplemental alone, at $60 billion, equals 92% of that entire decade-long rural broadband commitment in a single bill in a single year. For rural communities, that comparison is visceral. One supplemental defense package costs nearly as much as everything the government promised to spend connecting rural America to the modern economy over the next 10 years. The farm aid slice, $27.6 billion, exceeds the entire remaining unspent rural broadband allocation for 2025 through 2034 combined. This is the climax, $87.6 billion total, and you can now see exactly what it trades against. If Congress wanted to offset this spending rather than borrow it, the cuts would have to come from somewhere visible. And the programs that match in scale are ones voters know by name. The full $87.6 billion is roughly equivalent to eliminating the entire Pell Grant program for 4 years, halting all federal highway construction for 1.5 years, or defunding the entire Veterans Affairs healthcare system for 3 full years. Those are the actual trades on the table. Congress just never puts them on one slide. Most people I talk to pick the defense package when they hear it framed as national security. But when they see the rural broadband trade-off side by side, the math changes the answer. Tell me in the comments, which side are you on? So here's what Monday looks like, and this is the part that's actually in your hands. Your representative voted on or will vote on this supplemental. The vote is public record. It's at Congress.gov, searchable by your zip code in under 2 minutes. When you find it, ask your representative's office one specific question. What spending is being cut to offset this $87.6 billion? Or are you borrowing it from future taxpayers? That question has a yes or no structure that's hard to dodge. And it's the exact framing that constituent pressure has historically moved on budget votes, because it forces the trade-off into the light where it can't be hand-waved away. That $87.6 billion request is one bill with 2 completely different emergencies inside it. And the reason they're packaged together is precisely so you won't do the math on each piece separately. The math doesn't lie. Compound is the only free lunch in economics, and right now the federal government is compounding its debt instead of compounding your infrastructure. You now know the $260 per person cost, the 10% shadow budget that's been running for 20 years. and the exact trade-offs that Congress won't put on one slide. Now go build it. See you in the next breakdown.